The greatest war in ancient history, a war that lasted 10 long years, a war that killed thousands of warriors, destroyed kingdoms, and ended an entire civilization. But what as I told you, this war began because of one woman, a woman whose beauty was said to be so powerful that men would sail 1,000 ships just to bring her back. Her name was Helen of Troy. To some, she was the most beautiful woman who ever lived. To others, she was the most dangerous woman in history. A queen, a lover, a symbol, a curse. But here is the real question. Was Helen really worth a war? Or was she simply a scapegoat for something much darker? Tonight, we uncover the truth behind the woman who supposedly destroyed a civilization. By the end of this story, you will discover the shocking birth of Helen and why the gods themselves were involved. Why every king in Greece wanted to marry her. The secret oath that trapped all of Greece into war. And the disturbing truth that Helen may not have started the Trojan War at all. Because the real story of Helen of Troy is far more complicated than the myth you've heard. Long before the Trojan War, before Achilles, before Hector, before Troy burned, the story began with a god who could not control his desire. The king of the gods himself, Zeus. According to ancient legend, Zeus saw a woman whose beauty rivaled the goddesses themselves. Her name was Leda, queen of Sparta, and Zeus wanted her. But Zeus rarely approached mortals in his true form. Instead, he transformed into something unexpected, a swan. One night, the great white bird appeared beside Leda near a riverbank, and that strange encounter would create one of the most famous figures in mythology. Soon after, Leda laid 2 mysterious eggs. From those eggs hatched 4 children, Castor, Pollux, Clytemnestra, and one girl whose beauty would eclipse them all, Helen. From the moment she was born, it was said that Helen possessed divine beauty. Some believed she carried the blood of Zeus himself. Others believed she was a curse disguised as a blessing, because beauty like that never comes without consequences. As Helen grew older, stories of her beauty spread across the entire Greek world. Poets described her as radiant as the dawn. Her face was said to glow like sunlight. Her hair shimmered like gold. Men who saw her once would remember her for the rest of their lives. Soon, kings and princes from every corner of Greece began arriving in Sparta, each one hoping for the same thing, to marry Helen. And the list of suitors was astonishing. Among them were some of the greatest warriors in Greek history: Odysseus, Ajax, Diomedes, Menelaus, even powerful princes whose names are now lost to time. Each man brought incredible gifts: gold, jewels, weapons, armies, because whoever married Helen would gain enormous prestige and power. But Helen's father faced a terrifying problem. If he chose one suitor, the others might attack in jealousy. A civil war among Greek kings could erupt overnight. But one clever man had an idea. Odysseus proposed a solution that seemed brilliant at the time. Every suitor of Helen would swear a sacred oath. No matter who Helen chose, all the others would defend that marriage. If anyone ever tried to steal Helen away, every king of Greece would unite to bring her back. The suitors agreed. They swore the oath, and just like that, the fate of Greece was sealed. Helen eventually chose Menelaus, king of Sparta. He was wealthy, powerful, and brother to the mighty king Agamemnon. Their marriage seemed perfect. For years, Helen and Menelaus ruled peacefully in Sparta. They had a daughter. Their kingdom prospered, and it seemed that the world had forgotten the oath, but the gods had not. The true cause of the Trojan War began not with Helen, but with a wedding in heaven. The wedding of the mortal hero Peleus and the sea goddess Thetis. Every god and goddess was invited, except one, the goddess of chaos, Eris. Furious at being excluded, Eris decided to create trouble. She threw a golden apple into the wedding feast. Carved into the fruit were the words, "For the fairest." Immediately 3 goddesses claimed it: Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. Each believed she deserved the apple. The argument became so intense that even Zeus refused to judge it. Instead, he chose a mortal prince to decide, a young man named Paris of Troy. The three goddesses approached Paris one by one, each offering a bribe. Hera promised him power and kingship. Athena promised wisdom and victory in battle. But Aphrodite offered something else. She promised him the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen of Sparta. Paris chose Aphrodite, and with that single decision, the fate of Troy was sealed. Soon after, Paris traveled to Sparta as a royal guest. King Menelaus welcomed him with hospitality. Feasts were held, wine flowed, and Paris met Helen. What happened next remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Some ancient writers say Helen fell in love with Paris instantly. Others say she was kidnapped against her will. Still others claim Aphrodite herself enchanted Helen. Whatever the truth, Helen left Sparta with Paris and sailed for Troy, taking immense treasure with them. When Menelaus returned home and discovered Helen gone, his fury shook the entire Greek world. He remembered the oath, and he called every king who had sworn it. One by one, the kings of Greece answered the call. Agamemnon, Odysseus, Ajax, Diomedes, and the greatest warrior of them all, Achilles. Together they assembled one of the largest armies the ancient world had ever seen. Over 1,000 ships, all sailing toward Troy, all for one purpose, to bring Helen back and punish the city that took her. But inside Troy, Helen's life was far from glorious. Some Trojans blamed her for the war, others admired her beauty. Even King Priam himself treated her kindly. But Helen often spoke with deep regret. In Homer's Iliad, she calls herself a terrible curse. She watches from the walls of Troy as thousands die in a war fought because of her. She sees the greatest heroes of both sides fall, Patroclus, Ajax, and eventually Hector, the noblest defender of Troy, all because Paris brought her there. But Helen herself had no power to stop the war. She had become something else. Over 10 brutal years, the Trojan War consumed entire generations of warriors. Achilles killed countless Trojans. Hector defended his city with unmatched courage. Odysseus devised brilliant strategies. Yet the war dragged on endlessly, and all the while, Helen watched. Many ancient writers suggest Helen was deeply conflicted. She admired Hector's honor. She despised Paris for his cowardice, and she longed for the life she once had in Sparta. But by then, it was far too late, because the Greeks were planning their final move. After 10 years of stalemate, the Greeks devised a final strategy. A giant wooden horse. Inside it hid elite Greek warriors. The rest of the army pretended to sail away. Believing the war was over, the Trojans brought the horse into their city. That night, Greek soldiers emerged from the horse. They opened the gates, and the entire Greek army returned. What followed was one of the most brutal sackings in ancient history. Troy burned, its people slaughtered, its civilization destroyed forever. And Helen, the woman who started it all, survived. When Menelaus finally found Helen after the fall of Troy, many believed he would kill her instantly. After all, thousands had died to bring her back. But when Menelaus saw Helen again, something unexpected happened. According to legend, her beauty was still overwhelming. Menelaus lowered his sword and forgave her. Together they returned to Sparta as king and queen once again. But historians and scholars have debated Helen's role for centuries. Was she truly responsible for the Trojan War? Or was she merely a convenient excuse for conflict? Some believe the war was really about trade routes and power. Troy controlled vital access between Europe and Asia. Destroying Troy meant controlling those routes. Others believe the myth exaggerated Helen's role to create a dramatic story. Because wars are rarely fought for love alone. Yet the legend persisted, because Helen represented something deeper. The power of beauty, the danger of desire, and how fragile peace can be. Over thousands of years, Helen of Troy became more than a historical figure. She became a symbol. Artists painted her. Poets wrote about her. Playwrights reimagined her story again and again. Sometimes she was portrayed as a villain. Sometimes as a victim, sometimes as a tragic figure trapped by the gods, but one thing never changed. Her name became immortal. Because even today, when we speak about a beauty powerful enough to start wars, we still remember her. Helen of Troy. Oh. Was Helen really worth a war? Was she the destroyer of Troy? Or simply a woman caught in the ambitions of kings and the games of gods? The truth may never be known, but one thing is certain. Her story has survived over 3,000 years, and that alone proves something remarkable. Helen of Troy did not just change history, she became myth itself. But Helen's story is only one part of the Trojan War, because the war also produced the greatest warrior in Greek mythology. Next week, same day at same time, we'll come with another hero. Stay with us, subscribe for update.
Thank you for watching till the very end. If you're still here, it means you truly enjoyed the story, and that means the world to me. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, and share this video with someone who loves mythology as much as you do. Your support helps this epic journey continue, episode after episode. Once again, thank you for watching, thank you for staying till the end. And I'll see you in the next chapter of Trojan mythology.